Hi, Vanessa. It's Jason. I was just giving you a call. We work with revenue leaders at Shopify. Whoop, boom. She said, and then she hung up. What's up? My name's Jason. I'm going to be doing something pretty crazy today. I'm going to be making live cold calls for you all to listen to. I actually run a sales training company called Outbound Squad, and one of the things that we talk about a lot and train reps at Shopify, Zoom, Gong, Rippling, etc. on is cold calling. So what kind of sales trainer would I be if I didn't actually make cold calls? I put together a list with the help of Titan X. So what they do is they help scrub the list to make sure that we're going to be calling people that have a 25 to 30% pickup rate. So hopefully it won't be me here sitting dialing a bunch and not talking to anyone. The other thing I did to make this a little harder on me is I didn't pick anyone that I'm a first degree connection with on LinkedIn. So most of these people are probably not going to know who I am. So the framework, here's what I'm going to be doing. I like to break cold calls up into three parts. So there's an intro, there's a hook, and then there's a close. So in the intro, what you're going to hear me do is what's referred to as a permission-based opener. So when we looked at data with Gong, 30 Minutes to President's Club, Gong did a study of 300 million cold call data points. And what they found is that permission-based opener is about 10 times more effective than asking someone how they're doing. So I might say something like, hey, Rob, it's Jason with Outbound Squad. I know I caught you right in the middle of your day. You got a minute for me to share the reason for my call. So that's going to allow the prospect to opt in at that moment. The next thing I'm going to do is what's referred to as a reverse pitch. So instead of pitching sales training in this case, I'm going to talk about what I think their problem might be, see if that resonates. The hook is where I'm going to be able to ask them some problem-based questions, hopefully to tee up an intro call for me to do, in which I'll run you through the close. That's going to be where I secure time, confirm that it works, etc. So without further ado, let's get to calling. So I'm going to call this guy Kevin. He's a SVP of global sales at a company. So let's get our tasks loaded here. Hey, Kevin, it's Jason. Yeah, Kevin, there's a lot of background noise. If you can hear me all right, I'll keep going here. My name is Jason. I was giving you a call. I saw that you head up global sales there at 3Pillar from Outbound Squad. I was giving you a call, Kevin. I saw that you head up global sales there at 3Pillar. All right, cool. That was a weird call. Please take your name off of my list. Sounded like he was sitting in a call center. A lot of background noise. Couldn't really hear me that well, and if I'm being honest, it kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't really know what to say there at the beginning because he kept asking me who I was and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, so Nathan heads up sales. He's hiring full cycle AEs. They're verticalized around law practices. Hey Nathan, it's Jason with Outbound Squad. I know I probably caught you right in the middle of the day. You got a minute for me to share the reason for my call, and you can let me know if you want to keep chatting? Okay. He said, no, I'm good. So what do you do if someone says no to your permission-based opener? What you could do if someone says no and there's like a moment of breathing space is you can give context to the reason for your call. So like what I might have done differently in that call is I said, hey, not a problem. I just saw that you're hiring a bunch of full cycle AEs. We helped Shopify recently to get their AEs to self-source more pipeline. Is that by chance a focus of yours? Let's get to the next one here. So far, 2 for 2 with pickups, which is pretty cool with the data. So one thing I'm looking at right now, it's like a really kind of little detail. So this guy's name's Matthew. What I try to look at is a person's LinkedIn recs, and if they go by Matt or Matthew, this person goes by Matt, like little stuff like that can help a lot too. All right, Matt did not pick up. All right, so Tyler, I'm calling next. He's hiring AEs focused on strategic account growth. That's going to be an angle. He's a VP of sales at Airtable. All right. Hey, Dan, it's Jason. I was giving you a call. I saw that you guys are hiring a ton of account executives over there at Crime. Did I catch you at a bad time? Yeah. If you got a minute, I was giving you a call. I run a company called Outbound Squad. We work with companies like Shopify, Zoom, Rippling, and help them with outbound pipe gen. And I didn't know with your AEs if self-sourcing with the account executives, building pipe, is that something that's top of mind for you guys right now or something that you're thinking about? Got it. So with that ISR team, are you taking a bunch of the SDRs and BDRs? Is this kind of like a promotion path for them? That's a lot of what we're seeing right now. Or are you building out completely from scratch? Interesting. One of the things that we could talk about, because I've worked with a lot of teams based in India, and there's kind of like the cultural things around where they're calling, the enablement around that type of stuff. Are they going to be calling into the US market from India? US and Europe. Well, what we could do, if you have 10 or 15 minutes, we could set aside some time. Like I said, we've worked with some companies like your Shopify's, Zooms, Gongs, Ripplings of the world, and also companies doing something very similar with Indian-based teams calling into America. I could share some of those insights with you, share how we might be able to partner, help out, all of that kind of stuff. What's your schedule looking like maybe later? Yeah, go ahead. It's professional services. So what we do is we actually go in and work with senior leaders like yourself on the strategy. So the strategy is everything from how we're targeting accounts, how we're hiring people, what the messaging, the talk tracks, et cetera, look like. We partner with the enablement team around like the content and training for that. And then we also work with frontline leaders, which I'm sure in your experience you've seen the frontline leaders, and the reinforcement of all of that stuff is really important too. But yeah, the number one thing that we help with is landing more high quality meetings and then more of those turning into qualified pipeline. Yeah. Okay. He said, I appreciate your time, and then hung up on me. I thought we had one there. Okay. So I'm going to send this guy an email later. So he's building out an ISR team. So an inside sales rep team in India, which the challenge that they're going to run into that I probably could have elaborated on a little bit more is he's going to have people in India with accents calling into America, which is a very challenge. I mean, you're hearing me right now. It's challenging enough without an accent to call people in America. I think that I probably could have explained, he really wanted to know if we were software, if we were a recruiting solution. I probably could have done a better job of explaining what it is that we actually do through the context of the problems that we typically solve versus saying, hey, we do high-level strategy and work with enablement and all this other kind of stuff. If I had to go back, I might say something like, hey, the number one problem that we see when people are hiring teams in India is like training around the cultural differences and the soft skills training, and the managers not being able to like reinforce all of that. And that's where we typically partner with companies like yours and help. And I'd like to share some of those insights with you. The advice I would have for BDRs that run into objections, what I try to do is just maybe put a smile on my face and then just do the best that I can. I try to restate back ideally what I hear the person saying. I want to have practiced and rehearsed how I'm going to handle all this stuff beforehand, so I don't have to think about it so much in the moment. The way that I think about changing my approach based on the persona or company is, a lot of the research that we did with Gong and cold email showed that the relevance part of the message that you add, stuff related to the company is going to typically perform higher than stuff related to the individual. So I try to focus on that. Persona, you want to have a slightly different talk track for each persona. For me, that's senior sales leaders, there's senior sales development leaders, and then there's enablement leaders. So sales leaders are going to care more about what account executives are doing and self-sourcing. The SDR leaders are going to care more about what the SDRs are doing. The enablement leaders are going to care more about content and playbooks and that sort of stuff. So you have to cater the messaging to the persona at a bare minimum. Hey Charlie, it's Jason. I was calling about the Team White and Team Orange biz dev units. It looks like you guys are growing right now. You got a minute for me to share the reason for my call, and you can let me know if it's worth chatting more? Yeah, I was on LinkedIn and I saw that you guys are hiring on the business development team. I know that you head up sales over there. The reason I was giving you a call is we work with a lot of sales teams at companies like Shopify, Zoom, Gong, etc., and getting their reps to self-source pipeline and do more outbound is feeling a lot harder than it did a couple of years ago. Does that relate at all with you and sort of what you're seeing and experiencing over there? No, totally. I appreciate your candor there. This might be a long shot, but we don't actually sell software and technology. Typically, we're partnering up with like the enablement training teams and then also the leaders to help upskill the reps. So like the calls that they're doing, like the one I'm doing right now, how they email, etc., and land meetings with senior stakeholders. It's something we could dig into. I could share a little bit more about what we're seeing from other senior leaders and see if it might help some of your reps. Do you think that might be valuable, or do you feel like you guys are pretty good to go? Yeah, cool. Okay, appreciate it, Charlie. Thank you. So they're a professional services company, actually, and not a software company. So the language was a little bit different that he was using there. What I could have done a little bit differently is maybe gone a little bit more into like specific KPIs that this guy might care about. So for example, one of the big things that we see challenges with is the amount of net new accounts that they want to break into. I could have asked him specifically about that. I could have also asked him around pipeline conversion of like stage 1 meetings into stage 2 opportunities and like the quality of those opportunities. So I could have dug in a little bit more. He sounded very uninterested in talking to me as soon as he picked up. So that was a fun one. When I brought up the team white and team orange thing, he had no idea what I was talking about. That was something I grabbed off a job description, by the way, from a post that they're hiring for right now. So I was hoping that he would pick up on the internal lingo there. And then he said, we're something along the lines of, we're on a trajectory right now and we're doing really well. When people aren't feeling the pain that you normally help with, it's tough, to get a meeting with those people. Let's keep going. So Edwin, this company just hired a new CRO, and the thing it looks like they're most worried about is Microsoft is one of their biggest competitors, and they've gained 9% market share with Microsoft. Didn't pick up. He said that his voicemail's not set up into text. I'm actually going to text him real quick. I'm going to leave this voice note and I'm going to treat it exactly like a voicemail. So I'm going to open up with something relevant about Edwin. I'm going to hook it back to a problem with a little bit of social proof and see if he's interested in chatting. And I'm going to throw in an offer to do an audit. This is something I haven't done yet today in these calls. Normally what we offer is a cold calling audit, so actually going through and providing something of substantial value for the customer, and using that as a way to hook them for a meeting. Edwin, you said in your voicemail to shoot you a text. I was giving you a call because I saw that the Microsoft as a competitor was popping up a bunch in your deals based on the most recently quarterly earnings call that I listened to. And I was curious because we've done a lot of work with Zoom, Shopify, and Armis's enablement teams around the messaging and how to position and value prop in outbound pipe gen. So that's training the reps on what to say in their calls, how to multi-thread within deals, etc. I wasn't sure if that's something that you're working on or having challenges with, but would love to share some of the insights that we're helping the enablement leaders at those companies with. We're also providing audits. So complimentary audits if you want us to take a look at some of that messaging and share some ideas with you. My name's Jason. I run a company called Outbound Squad. Again, we've partnered with enablement teams at Zoom, Shopify, Armis, etc. And I thought some of that could be helpful for you. Would love to chat with you. Let me know if you're free later this afternoon or tomorrow. So with that voicemail, it was a voice note that I sent this guy. Social proof. I think is really big. I like to open up with something relevant about them. I don't introduce myself at the top. I want it to, because he's probably going to read the transcript, I want it to read like an email. So here's why I'm reaching out to you specifically. Here's the problem I think you might have, and here's some social proof on why you might be interested in talking. Okay, let's call our next person here. So this is another good little hack. When I was doing pre-research, I tried to figure out if I'm calling multiple people at the same company or not. So I can reuse the same research at the company level if I call the same people at the company. So there's actually 3 people at this company that I'm about to call. Okay, so I'm gonna call Tammy next. So Tammy is VP of Sales. So this company that I'm reaching out to, they have multiple personas, multiple industries, and there's like a lot of complexity. So if you think about as a rep, we deal with this when we're coming in, working with clients. We've worked with over 200 clients in the last 3 or 4 years. So that's essentially 200 different personas that we have to figure out, industries that we have to figure out, use cases that we have to learn. And as a rep, you can imagine the complexity of, hey, I have to know how 3 or 4 different industries work. I have to be able to talk to 3 or 4 very different types of buyers that could have different nuances across all of those industries. That's complexity that we can help sales teams with, right? And really help them distill down. So that's probably the angle. All right, we're gonna try Bert next. Bert's at the same company. Bert specifically works with the enterprise team, it looks like. So let's give Bert a dial as soon as this loads up here. One thing that I try to do too when I'm dialing people is I like to open up their LinkedIn profile, and I find that kind of humanizes them a little bit for me so that they're not just a number. And Bert looks like a pretty friendly guy. So let's give him a call. Didn't pick up. I think the advice that I would give to reps if you don't have answers, one, you should get your company to use TitanX, because this is crazy. I've never talked to this many people in like a 45-minute period. It's actually kind of nice to have a break between the calls so I can think a little bit if I'm being honest. But I think if you're making an hour of calls and only talking to one or two people, it can be a little demoralizing. So I think what I like to do is set up that block so that you can be really productive and get as many dials as possible. So you want to show up like I have here, already having done the prep and the research and knowing kind of why I want to reach out, etc., so that I can get as many dials in as possible, so that I can have those 1 or 2, 3, 4 conversations. So other than that, this is part of the job. I like to do this like we're doing right now, basically first thing in the morning when my energy level is the highest. Let's call our boy Phil here. He's SVP of Sales in North America. The angle I'm going to use here, he recently wrote a LinkedIn post on nailing AI without losing the personal touch. And most of the people I reach out to aren't very active on LinkedIn in terms of posting content. This guy is, so I feel like it's a good thing to call out. Dang, no pickup there either. Okay. All 3 people at the same company didn't pick up. 14 dials, 4 connects so far. 0 for 4, by the way. Let's see if I can redeem myself here. Calling my man Carter. He is 2 months in seat as a VP of sales. My angle always with this is they're hiring a bunch of strategic account executives. He was probably brought in for a reason. I'm assuming that part of what he's focused on is helping the org be more strategic across enterprise accounts and land larger logos. And a big part of that is going to be enabling those AEs to self-source pipeline. So we're just going to go in with that angle and see what happens here. Identity, security, and privileged access management. Not sure what that means. I find that the best place to go to, by the way, if you're a rep and you're not quite sure, because like their homepage is just full of lingo that's really hard to understand even for their customers, is to just go to the About page on LinkedIn. Usually there's a pretty succinct paragraph in there on what they do. So let's give our man here a call. Hey Carter, it's Jason. I was giving you a call. I saw that you're about 4 months into the role and that you guys are doing a bunch of hiring with Strat AEs right now. It's Jason. You got like a minute for me to share the reason for my call, and you can let me know if you want to keep chatting. So his Google Voice picked up, and I was leaving a what I thought would be like a voicemail type message, and then he picked up, and he was not a friendly guy. We're gonna start using the "Have you heard our name tossed around" opener. So this one incorporates social proof is primarily the thing. So I might say something like, "Hey Jessica, saw you head up the SDR team over there at ABC Company. We actually work with SDR leaders at teams like Shopify, Zoom, Gong, etc. Have you heard our name tossed around?" And it's kind of a good like social proof segue into the next part of the call. Okay. Jessica did not pick up. Okay, next person, Vanessa, is a CRO at a company that's hiring a lot of AMs, AEs, and focused on enterprise growth. Hi, Vanessa. It's Jason. I was just giving you a call. We work with revenue leaders at Shopify. Woo. Boom. She said, "Ah," and then she hung up. Yeah. Yeah. That was funny. You know, I'm gonna call her back real quick and say, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry we got disconnected." Let's see. She didn't pick up this time. Okay. I see how it is, Vanessa. What I find really funny is when a sales leader gets annoyed at someone cold calling them when that's exactly what they're asking their reps to do. I feel like that's bad juju. Yeah, I think the question of whether or not to leave a voicemail is really comes from this place of, do people even call you back or not? And most of the time people are not going to call you back. And that's the justification a lot of reps actually use for not only not leaving voicemails, but not making calls. The reason why you should consider leaving a voicemail is statistically, Orem's got stats on how it will increase your future pickup rates. So your pickup rate will increase by 25+% the second, third, fourth time you call someone if you leave a voicemail in the first call. And the other thing too is if instead of asking for a call back, you point the voicemail to an email, the voicemail could actually increase your reply rates to emails by up to 3x, according to Gong. And I've seen that in practice with reps as well. So you should leave voicemails. Nicholas is up next. Okay. No pickup. Our next one, this guy's a VP of sales. He's built an AI native outbound engine driving 25% of MRR at 50% lower CAC than paid marketing. Replaced his SDR team. This will be an interesting conversation here. Hey, Sebastian, it's Jason. I was just giving you a call. I thought I'd give you a quick call. I saw that you did a lot of work to automate the SDR role at Design Pickle, and we help companies with outbound and pipe gen and that sort of stuff. Do you got a minute to chat real quick? I can let you know why I'm calling, and you let me know if you want to keep chatting. So it was kind of an interesting thing when I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, because like we're normally working with like your Shopify, Zooms, Gongs of the world, and helping their account executives self-source more pipeline, working with their SDR teams to craft better talk tracks, build their soft skills, etc. But have you completely automated all the outbound at Design Pickle? One other thing I was curious about with it, that's super impressive, by the way. Are you guys focused on moving up market at all? This is something that we see a lot into like more enterprise customers. I've used Design Pickle quite a bit myself as a customer, being a business owner. But are you guys moving up market or doing any of that sort of stuff? And I ask because typically there's more of a, hey, who can pick up the phone and maybe call some of these people if it's trying to get a hold of a senior exec, let's say within an enterprise account. Is that something you're focused at all on right now as well? Or one of the things that we could do if you're up for it, because we've worked with about 200 outbound sales teams in the last 3 or 4 years at Outbound Squad. One thing that we could do that's pretty low lift for you if you want to chat for another 15 or 20 minutes at a time when I'm not calling you in the middle of your day is we could do an audit and take a look at some of the stuff that you're doing and some of the email automation, see if there's opportunities to maybe get a lift there. I could compare some of that to benchmarks and what we're seeing. And if nothing else, you'll get 2 or 3 ideas you could bring back to your team that could help get a lift in pipeline. What do you say? No, totally. I appreciate the candor. I mean, most sales leaders that I'm talking to are in a very similar spot where, they're challenging everything. It's everything from tech to headcount, and they're looking for AI to replace things and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would totally be down to spend 15 or 20 minutes with you and at least get a conversation started and share some ideas with you. What's your schedule looking like tomorrow morning? All right, let's do that. I'll send over an email to you later today or tomorrow too, just so you can kind of get a better idea of how we might be able to help. And like I said, if nothing else, you guys will get some ideas from it. But we're mostly coming in and, from a consulting and coaching standpoint, just looking at all of the different ways that we could level up the people that create the messaging, send the stuff out, all of that kind of stuff. So what you're actually doing at Design Pickle is like, it's pretty badass. It's what we try to get a lot of really large organizations to do, that they just haven't figured out the AI thing. Awesome. I just sent you the invite. Would you do me a quick favor? I just want to make sure that went through. Did you see that come through? So it's Wednesday, the 22nd at 9 a.m. Cool. Awesome. Thank you, sir. Looking forward to it. Let's go. Finally. So if I was to debrief on the meeting that I just landed, I think what really helped is I did have some really good stuff in the intro to talk to him about that was like very relevant to his role. So I called that out. The other thing is he had basically the objection he gave me was the reason why we're implementing all of this automation and this AI is like, it's basically he's been tasked by his executive team to look for ways to replace people with AI. So they've literally replaced their entire SDR team, and they have an outbound function now where there's like someone that manages all of these different AI components for them. So I needed him to know that we're not trying to replace that person. This would actually help that person get better results. So in other words, if you can use the objection as the reason for the meeting, that's pretty effective. Like, he wants to increase efficiency and do it with less headcount. Like, that's what our program helps with. The other thing that's really important that I did there right before I took off was I made sure that he got the calendar invite and then accepted it on the call. When you send calendar invites to people that have not received emails from you, what happens usually is the calendar won't, or the invite rather, will not hit the calendar until they accept it from within the email inbox. So imagine you do all this work to get the person on the phone, you land the meeting, they never accept it, it never shows up on their calendar, and then good luck, getting a hold of them again. When I land a meeting, the first thing that's on my mind is how can I land another meeting? So like now I have a little bit more of excitement and enthusiasm and that sort of stuff, and I want to take that into the next call. And all right, dude, we're gonna go for a big wig on this one. This is the CRO of DocuSign. So let's let me just make sure I have my shit together for this one. I'm gonna gather my thoughts real quick. So DocuSign is rolling out tons of new products, and they have a ton of competitors. So what I'm thinking with this is we actually might go for like the expansion play. So she's a chief revenue officer, so I'm not going to talk to her about anything tactical. I think the lesson here that's super important is when you talk to someone very senior at an organization really, really large, like they're purely focused on KPIs and metrics and business growth. She doesn't want to know about enablement programs and training. Like, I don't want to bring that stuff up because she's probably going to say, talk to my enablement team, which I don't want to do. So with her, what I would really want to focus on is like the narrative and the process and the frontline leaders and how they hold reps accountable, and like the rhythms and the operational rhythms behind that around how they cross-sell and upsell within existing customer accounts. And then the competitive differentiation is another thing that I want to focus on. Hi, Paula. It's Jason with Outbound Squad. I know I'm probably catching the middle of your day, but I was giving you a call to see if you had a minute. We partner with folks at like Shopify, Zoom, Gong, etc., to help their reps self-source more pipeline. Yeah, that's a heck of a problem you have, huh? Yeah. That was the wrong Paula. And she's like, dude, I keep getting cold calls from people looking for this CRO at this company. So unless she was completely fucking with me just now, that was pretty hilarious. So one of the hardest things about cold calling is you'll spend hours making dials and not talking to anyone. We partnered with TitanX today, and this is my first time experiencing TitanX. So I was able to call 30 people and 9 of them picked up. I had a 30% connect rate. That is literally 6 times the average. If I'm being candid, I was actually unprepared with how many people that I talked to. I had not pre-researched enough people to account for all the people I was going to reach out to. I booked 1 meeting, so I had an 11% conversion rate, which is not bad. The average is about 5.5%. It's twice the average, but really for me, I want to be in the 20% plus range. So I would have really loved to have gotten 1 more meeting. If there were a couple things I would do differently next time, I had sales development leaders, sales leaders, and enablement leaders mixed into the same list. So there were a couple times I had to context switch and think about, well, what am I going to say to this person? What am I going to say to this person that's a little bit different? That context switching, I would have gotten rid of that. The second thing I would have done is, normally I'm not talking to that many senior people all in a row. I felt like I could have spent maybe the first 30 minutes calling sales managers at some of those companies. And then when I got a hold of someone and had a good conversation, then using that as momentum to call their CRO and say, I just spoke with, Armand on your team about XYZ. I think that would have helped me warm up a little bit. The first couple calls, frankly, didn't go well. So I was like pretty low energy, but I had super fun. Like that was an awesome time. If you want some of the best practices around email, phone, etc., I would definitely recommend below checking out the link for the Outbound Bundle. So the Outbound Bundle's got 30 Minutes to President's Club's best stuff on cold calling, openers, objection handling, etc. And then we also partnered together for a cold email course. It's got our absolute best stuff that we've taught to over 200 plus teams, spent a decade perfecting, etc. So go make sure to check that out in the comments. And if you want 5,000 free credits from TitanX so that you can have a 25% plus connect rate, check that out in the comments in the description below.
That's a wrap, folks. If you like this video, the #1 way to tell us to do more stuff like this is to like this video, subscribe, and hit the bell. It's the #1 free way that you can support the channel and make sure that we can keep doing content like this. If you like this too, there are some videos that are around here or down below. I don't even know where they put them anymore. Go click on some of these other videos that'll help you get better at selling or get to President's Club or whatever you're trying to do. Maybe it'll entertain you on your couch. Alrighty? Peace, y'all.